Way more thoughtful.
Turn the.
There's Mr. Tate. Good evening. It's 5:30 PM on Wednesday, August 19th, 2026, and this regular meeting, the Sandpoint City Council is now called to order in council chambers at 1123 West Lake Street, Sandpoint, Idaho. For the record, I'm Mayor Jeremy Grimm presiding over this meeting. Also present are City Council President Deb Rule, Councilor Kyle Schreiber, Pam Duquette, Joe Tate, and Joshua Torres. Councilor Spiro is running a bit late and should be joining us shortly. Under the city's adopted Code of Ethics and Civility, as the presiding officer, I'm to identify law enforcement serving as Sergeant at Arms for this evening's meeting. Tonight, we have Police Chief Corey Kuhn in the back somewhere. Thank you, Corey. If everyone would please stand, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For members of the public in attendance, if you wish to speak during this evening's public hearing or during the general public comment portion of the meeting, please complete the comment sign-up form and hand it to staff at the back table. Please note that our general comment time following announcements and reports will be the only opportunity for public comment regarding new and old business and consent calendar items or other general matters not on the agenda that are pertinent to the business of the city of Sandpoint. If you wish to provide testimony during the public hearing, please note as much on your sign-up sheet and wait until the hearing has begun and open to provide your comments. First, though, this evening, I have the honor of reading a proclamation recognizing and celebrating monarch butterflies and its importance to our environment and the community of Sandpoint. And I thank Councilwoman Duquette for being a champion of this effort, because without her, I would not be reading this or doing any of this. And that proclamation is, whereas monarch butterflies are among North America's most recognizable and admired pollinators, known for their remarkable annual migration spanning thousands of miles, serving as an important indicator of ecosystem health. And whereas Western monarch butterflies undertake an extraordinary migration each year, traveling between breeding grounds and an overwintering habitat, while providing valuable pollinating services that support native plants, agriculture systems, and healthy landscapes. Whereas monarch butterfly populations have experienced dramatic declines in recent decades due to habitat loss, climate change, drought, wildfires, pesticide use, and the widespread loss of native milkweed and nectar-producing plants that are essential to every stage of monarch life cycle. Whereas the conservation of monarch butterflies depends on the collective effort of federal, state, tribal, local governments, conservation organizations, landowners, businesses, schools, and community volunteers working together to restore and protect pollinator habitat. And whereas planting native milkweed and diverse flowering plants, reducing unnecessary pesticide use, protecting open spaces, and supporting habitat restoration projects are simple yet meaningful actions that help sustain monarch butterflies and many other native pollinators. And whereas pollinators are vital to healthy ecosystems and agricultural productivity, with nearly 1 out of every 3 bites of food consumed by people relying in part on pollinating provided by butterflies, bees, birds, bats, and other beneficial species. And whereas educating the public about monarch butterflies, encouraging conservation efforts to foster environmental stewardship, strengthen community engagement, and inspire future generations to protect the natural resources upon which wildlife and people depend. Now, therefore, I, Jeremy Grimm, Mayor of Sandpoint, Idaho, do hereby proclaim that the City of Sandpoint encourages all residents, schools, businesses, civic organizations, and community partners to celebrate the monarch butterfly by learning about its remarkable life cycle and migration, planting native pollinator habitats, supporting conservation initiatives, and taking meaningful actions to protect monarch butterflies and all pollinators for future generations. Proclaimed this 19th day of August, 2026 in the City of Sandpoint, Bonner County, Idaho. Thank you, Pam. That was, oh, thanks for those efforts. Go ahead, Council President. Sure. We do still have a quorum, so let's take a 1-minute pause. Reconvening at 5:36. Council President, except for Councilman Aspiro, who's going to be joining us. So next, mayor's announcements and reports. I have no announcements or reports. Do council members have any announcements or reports? Go ahead. Oh, no.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman Trevor.
Yeah, the Bike Ped Committee met on August 13th, the regularly scheduled meeting. Heard an update from staff regarding crosswalks across Ontario Street to Lakeview Park. There was discussion and recommendation regarding an upcoming development. Discussion about the best bike route through downtown to City Beach. The key takeaways there were possibly considering moving the bike route to jog down to Church Street to avoid the First or Gunnings Alley options, since neither of those are necessarily perfect. That would likely require converting the diagonal parking on the south side of Church to become parallel parking. Of course, that's all TBD. And there was also a suggestion about designating the sidewalk, that brand new sidewalk on the north side of Bridge between First and the Bridge as a multi-use path, since it lines up with the pedestrian bridge there, so that bikes coming down Church could jump onto that sidewalk rather than having to ride across the vehicle bridge. So keep your eyes peeled for more on that. There was also a presentation regarding the management of e-bikes and other new vehicles. There is a ton of great information, but the key takeaway there was that speed limits on shared paths are probably the good first step there, because it doesn't require us to go through the lengthy decisions about vehicle classifications. We can just implement speed limits that apply to all vehicles. So there's much more work to be done on that, but that's probably the likely first step that we'll move towards.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilman. Any other council announcements or reports?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. For the Arts, Culture, and Historic Preservation Commission. Okay, so for the Carousel of Smiles mural application, the commission has unanimously recommended that City Council approve the Galloping Pony mural on 502-504 Church Street. The commission discussed need for more consistent monitoring and maintenance of public art. We're talking Jeff Jones Square ceramic tile mural, Jeff Jones Town Square bicycle sculpture, the Boyer Roundabout, Sandpoint sign, Lady Liberty, photo displays at the Sand Creek Landing, Third and Pine Bear Elk artwork. And then the commission reviewed the recent public art accomplishments, including installation of the 3 boxes sponsored through Sura and the 2 Big Belly Monster Utility Box wraps sponsored by STCU. The commission has also noted the successful installation of the Summer Street banners. And now there is the historic walking tour update. Commissioners discussed the newly printed historic walking tour brochures, and you can pick those, let's see here, locations such as the hospital, visitor information locations, businesses, and potentially Coeur d'Alene. Walking tours are continuing with additional tours planned for late August. And that is it, sir.
Thank you so much, Councilman Torres.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilwoman
if
Burkett.
nobody else, do you? I just want to remind everybody about the Monarch Festival. Saturday, August 29th, 12 to 4. It's going to be amazing. And if you do not get the Daily Bee, our friend here, Michaela, did a great job sharing what it's all about. So,
And that's at the library, right?
no, it's at Matchwood and
Matchwood, sorry.
Evans Brothers. And there's coffee and adult beverages and ice cream for kids and scavenger hunts for kids and live music with Harold's IGA. It's just going to be all kinds of educational, kid focused, pretty much celebration. And yeah, come on, everybody, share.
Noon to
Be
4.
fun. What's that?
Noon.
Noon to 4.
Councilor Tate or Rule, anyone? All right. Moving right along, we'll move into department directors for any updates from the various departments. For your reference, Finance Director Sarah Lenz is available to answer any questions regarding the financial report listed on and as item 2 on the agenda if you need it. Otherwise, she generally just watches and listens. Good evening, Cheryl Hughes, Central Services Director.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just an update from Central Services. Cheryl Hughes, Central Services Director. Update on the firewall project that IT has been working on for a few weeks now. They are about 50% complete. This project took place of the budgeted server replacement project due to the server prices that had escalated by more than 150%. As a result of the impact on the increase in data centers and the demand outpacing the supplies for equipment has driven prices up significantly in the tech world. The IT manager then pivoted from replacement of the servers to increasing the protection on our existing servers. And the firewall project was going to be the second project, but it ended up being the first project. The replacement servers still need to be done, but we have to figure that out and hopefully prices will start to stabilize. The firewall project was, never mind. This cost for this firewall project is about 80,000. The server replacement was 125,000, but this gave us other areas of where we could utilize those additional funds in other IT area improvements that were needed, including our 365 and fine tuning that. They've created the policies that are needed. The routing has been configured now. The VPN connections are all planned out, and now they're looking towards implementation when the new firewall will go live and save the city upcoming renewals on redundant software that we will no longer need once this goes live. This will all be coordinated with the departments when the changeover happens, and it'll be a significant changeover. Additionally, the downtown parking lot camera project is in the actual planning stages now. Contracts have been executed. The 0DB is going to be taking fiber from the city vault into the parking lot. It's been contracted. Ednetics is going to be providing the cameras, and the estimated time for completion of this project is end of October, but we're hoping that we can get it done sooner. But 0DB needs till the end of September to get their work done. The city has also been given approval from the property owner to utilize the lot on Boyer just north of the Super One for our snow storage.
Can I just jump back to those cameras? Those are not flock
I was just
cameras.
gonna say.
Just want everyone
Oh.
here and the public and the paper to know. These are cameras that we use, have used around town, and they don't record and track you like those flock cameras.
No.
They do have recording capabilities for criminal investigations, but so as well.
Closed circuit.
You know, I'd have to get to the chief. I mean, they're proprietary. I mean, they come to us, the video recordings. but,
Okay.
I don't know what all closed circuit means in terms of the tech world, so, but I know it gets
Can you
fed to our system.
Could you repeat the name of the company that makes the cameras?
Ednetics is the company that's contracting.
Okay.
The cameras are likely Avigilon cameras,
Say that again.
Avigilon,
A Vigilon.
I
Okay.
didn't catch that still.
Avigilon.
Thank you.
I believe those are the cameras that are being used. They're very similar to the cameras that we have here in outside in our parking lot. So they're similar to that.
That word caught my attention too.
No, I just wanted
Not
to be clear,
flock
these are not
cameras.
flock cameras.
Okay.
Sorry, Cheryl.
So back to the lot on Boyer that we're, the property owner just emailed me and gave approval that we can use that lot again for the 26 snow storage. And I'm finalizing that agreement now with that property owner. There is a sign that says her plan is to build something on that lot, but she is being very picky about what goes there, so she hasn't made any commitments to everybody else, so she said that we can have it another year. I'm also working with Woods Crushing and Hauling on any rate changes for their First Amendment for the on-call snow hauling services for the year. And that'll be brought to council for consideration of their First Amendment, probably at the September 16th meeting, so that they can have a contract start date of October 1st. Yes, we're talking about snow, so sorry about that.
We hope.
And then I just wanted to mention that the employees get two annual events a year to just celebrate all that they do for the community and the work that they perform. And the city provides this in the summer and then at Christmas. Tomorrow is the summer barbecue. And a local contractor generously contributed to the event as a thank you to the staff for all the work that they do in and for our community. So that was very generous of them to do that. And we appreciated them recognizing staff and wanting to help make the event better for staff. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Cheryl. Any questions for Cheryl?
Mr. Mayor, I just wondered who did that? Who?
Anonymous.
Oh. Okay, no,
Mr.
thank
Mayor.
you, Anand.
Go ahead, Councilman Torres.
So with regards to the changeover for the IT side, do we know how or like what that date's gonna be, how long the downtime's gonna be? Are we gonna do it on the weekend, or do we have plans for anything like that?
So it will all be coordinated with the department heads, and it's not information that would be shared at a public meeting.
Okay.
So when we have more details, can definitely share, but just outside of a public meeting.
We will be thoughtful. Won't be dead in the water.
No. No, they're working very hard to make sure.
Oh, let the record show that Councilman Espiro has joined the meeting. Sorry, I missed you down there, Joel. Any other questions for Cheryl? Thanks, Cheryl. Holly Ellis, Public Works Director.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I invited Eric Bush, our urban forester, to come up and give an update on our urban forest spending and plan for next year. I did briefly want to address the council. Last week, we did have a letter go out to all of our water customers regarding a Tier 2 violation. There's 3 tiers of violations that our water treatment plant could get. One is very serious. It's a health concern. There's 24 hours required for notice. This was a Tier 2, which is less critical. There's 30 days response needed. So it's not an acute health risk. It's a technical operations risk. We share for transparency of our water treatment and the importance of public health. And anytime there's a hiccup that happens in our treatment. So I just wanted to clarify that this was at our water treatment plant, and there is no need to boil water or have any concerns. There's no action, but just transparency that we did have a reported violation. So if there are any questions, otherwise, Eric is here to present on our urban forestry budget.
Awesome. And that sounds scary, but without going into all the details, one of the pieces of monitoring equipment just stopped monitoring for, I don't know, within an hour.
So it was our chlorine pump actually stopped working, and we identified that we don't have alarms on our chlorine residual. So it's the last part of our treatment process. So after the water has been filtered and disinfected, we boost it with chlorine so that there's chlorine residual in the pump lines, so that everyone who turns on their faucet has an amount of chlorine to guarantee continued disinfection after the water has already been disinfected after our plant all the way through the tap. For approximately 1 hour, we are not able to verify that that chlorine residual was maintained through that distribution process. And that's the purpose of that. That's the purpose of chlorine residual, and that was the nature of the violation. Since then, we've installed sensors so that we're actually notified if that chlorine drops sooner. We were actually very fortunate that our crews noticed it when they did. So we've already got alarm sensors in place, so we're alerted to it on our SCADA. The other piece we'll be working on, and you might see a construction contract through for approval, is to install a bypass. So if we did have this happen again, we've got another safeguard that we could actually stop production and any water that does not, it will stop production, number one, and then number two, pool water into a separate area and contain it before it goes to the distribution system.
Thanks. Thanks for that clarity. Holly,
Yeah.
any
absolutely.
questions for Holly before Eric tells us about urban forestry? Awesome. Fire away, Eric.
Good evening, counselors. Eric Bush, City Forester Project Manager. Sent you all an email yesterday kind of summarizing our future kind of budgetary expenses and what we would be using our budget for. Step back quickly, just the remainder of our current fiscal year dollars, we have $12,560 left in our current budget, and I'm in the process of engaging a local contractor to do some hazard tree removals, and if our money stretches far enough, some clearance pruning on streets and sidewalk clearance pruning. That's height pruning. Beyond that, for future years, we intend to kind of break the city into quadrants, and the number of quadrants depends on the available funds, but basically starting to catch up on deferred maintenance, primarily health and clearance pruning. So the vertical prunings, removing dead wood, making pruning cuts that improve the health of trees in our right of way. That's something that we haven't done structured in the city in a really long time. So like any other infrastructure, we have a lot of deferred maintenance. So that could be a 10 or 15-year process to kind of catch up on that, depending on funds. And the intention is that first round might be a little bit more expensive as we get through that first round, and then are doing ongoing maintenance would be quite a bit cheaper. It's also going to be more expensive in certain parts of the city compared to others. But beyond that, we intend to plant trees where we can afford to maintain them. And it's important to note it's not just the cost of the tree and the cost of installing it. It's the kind of 3-year watering of that tree, and then structural pruning. Beyond that, I've kind of breezed through quite a bit there. Happy to answer any questions that council has on how those funds are used.
Council, any questions for Eric Bush?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Along that lines, I thought residents were responsible for the height of the trees, like over the sidewalk. Is that what you're talking about?
It is, and they are. It's kind of an enforcement challenge there, and we could send half of the city notices of pruning your tree. I don't know that we have an appetite to do that.
Okay.
If we do, then that changes the process a little bit.
I just want to be noted that I've spent a lot of money on my right-of-way trees to prune them and make sure that they're like they should be to stay in.
And many of our residents are very good at that.
Yeah.
Others
I thought
not
it
much.
was something we were supposed to do. Can you share who that local company will be?
We haven't selected one yet.
Okay. Let me see. I had one of the paragraphs, and thank you for this because this makes it really clear for us to figure out what's going on. You anticipate the initial citywide cycle will be more expensive, and you're talking 10 to 15 years. Are we going to budget more money then in the future, like starting next year for the forestry work?
And then Councilwoman, the way the budget work is the directors and the staff, the managers all get together and they bring their preferred requested budget. And then Sarah and I, visiting with directors, we make some hard decisions to try to balance it and then comes to you. So I will take staff's advice next year when we put the budget together. Well, it's like 6 months from now, so.
Okay, well, that's what I was just, he is part of that. Let me see. The last sentence you wrote about was additional budget needs for consultant services. Can't that be done with the Urban Forestry Commission and your position without
In
paying?
some cases, yes. In other cases, things kind of rise to the level of, particularly with like code updates, for example. There's certain elements of a code update that you would want kind of the expert involved to kind of get eyes on it. Myself and the Urban Forestry Commission can certainly carry a lot of that load, but you're going to want, in certain cases, kind of that expert level review as well.
Okay. One more question. The trees that are being damaged because of the sidewalks, is that going to be part of this? Like they're popping up the sidewalks? And I've been told if we just take those off and make something different there, that won't damage the trees, because we've got big, beautiful trees that are trying to live and the sidewalks have encumbered them. I'm just wondering if that's something you're looking at in the future to help those trees.
I guess you'd have to give me an example. I'm aware of locations all throughout town that the
Everywhere.
tree roots have lifted the sidewalk.
Okay. I can give you a list.
Ultimately, that comes to kind of the right tree, right place mantra in urban forestry generally. Best practices. Maples are the cause of a lot of our kind of sidewalk issues throughout town. They're a shallow, wide-rooted tree. We can avoid that in the future by selecting the right species. In the short term, for example, when we do sidewalks projects, we can ADA considerations and the like are obviously we have to consider, and it can't be changed everywhere, but we can bridge those routes, meaning lift the sidewalk above them, and we've done that successfully in projects.
Okay, because that's something I would like to see looked at. Yeah, I get in the future planting trees, but these big old beautiful trees now deserve to still come finish living, in my opinion. And right now, ADA, you can barely walk in some of those areas where the trees are trying to move their roots. So you wouldn't get a wheelchair or a push walker on there at all. Just saying. Okay, I would just like to bring up some of those things to be thought of with this report. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Bush?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman?
Hey, Eric, thanks. So you mentioned not planting more trees than we can take care of. For example, watering for the first 3 years. Do we have a system in place to take care of trees after planting?
We haven't historically, and we're in the process on the Division Sidewalk Project and the Cedar Street Project that are completed and underway right now. Trees will be planted in both of those locations, and we're going to have water bags on each of those trees. And there's a couple different structures. You could have volunteer groups or the adjacent property owners, some of which are willing to water those trees, others don't. But those have to be filled twice a week throughout the growing season. There's a cost associated with that. It can be done by city staff, but that takes them away from doing something else. Or you have to have a company like we do with our flower baskets downtown that goes around and fills those bags twice a week throughout the growing season. So that's the kind of long-term cost that I was referencing.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was getting at, was that I wasn't aware of an existing structure for that. So without that existing structure, my concern would be that we can't care for any trees, so that therefore we would plant no trees, right?
That's how it's been handled the last few years, and that's what we're looking at improving. It doesn't do any of us any good to plant trees and then walk away.
Right.
We're throwing money away, and we want to not do that.
Right.
Mr. Mayor,
Go
can we
ahead.
please be mindful to not turn this into a non-agendized discussion, please?
like that. Thank you. Council, you understand it's not agendized, so these are just questions for staff and got questions for staff. No discussion on them. They can answer your questions and we can go from there. Any other
Mr.
questions?
Mayor, it seems to me that this is maybe a budget discussion that we should be having under that item.
Yeah, if you're going to go into, I think, detailed discussion of it, I think that would be appropriate.
Okay, let's finish then.
Excellent. Any other questions for Eric at this time? Holly, were you coming up to?
Nope, all set. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Any other staff reports up there? All right. And I neglected, I did have an announcement from the mayor. Council, I am excited after more than a year of emailing consistently. I have a phone call tomorrow with the senior manager of real estate from Union Pacific Railroad about that Larch Street extension. So they're busy, but I will let you know how that goes. As you know, that's in the budget for that acquisition. I assume the appraisal is out of date at this point, but I will bring that back to you once I know more. All right, we will now move on to public comment. This is the public comment portion of the meeting. If you wish to speak and haven't yet completed a sign-up form, please do so and hand it to a staff member at the back of the room. If you'd like to speak on any item, including on this evening's agenda under the consent calendar or old or new business that is not a hearing, now is your opportunity to do so. For the purpose of general public forum, you are welcome to comment on any topic pertinent to the business of the city, not included on the agenda. Those attending remotely who wish to speak may raise their hand on Zoom at this time. I would like to make everyone aware the city does have a policy on public meeting decorum. The rules are posted just outside the chamber entry. And in summary, I would ask everyone to please be pleasant and respectful, not make derogatory statements about others, including city staff, not be disorderly or disruptive, no calling out, clapping, holding up signs, etc. Please note that council cannot take testimony on any planning, land use related matter outside an official public hearing. Public comment time is for comments only, no questions or debate. You're always welcome to contact myself or council members during regular business hours if you have any questions or concerns. This is the only general public comment period this evening. When it's your turn to speak, please state your name, whether you reside in the city of Sandpoint city limits, and each speaker will have up to 3 minutes. With that, Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up?
Yes, so Stacy Mueller.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm here on behalf of the 24 businesses up the Cedar Street Bridge. 2 weeks ago, the City Council passed removing the 14 kiosks downtown on First, Second, Cedar, while offering an app for those parking in 2-hour parking to have the option to pay for extra time. I stood before this council that night sharing how downtown businesses have really been affected, about 50 to 70% of their revenue, by the implementation of the downtown kiosks for several reasons. First, we know the locals joined forces to ban coming downtown. Second, visitors and locals alike were really confused and frustrated as to what to do with parking, which left the business owners and the employees on the front lines to answer questions and listen to repeated frustrations. Now, 2 weeks ago, I offered the City Council the Cedar Street Bridge Welcome Center as a solution to help with the communication of the parking plan. Today, I come before you again to offer this solution once again. Since voting for the removal of the 14 kiosks out of First, Second, and Cedar, the locals and visitors still remain confused. The kiosks have not been removed, and that is a large part of the confusion. And the communication for the changes is still unclear to the public. As a result, what is transpiring is just this firestorm of misinformation and somewhat anger and questioning as to whether the city government is going to follow through with what they voted on a couple weeks ago. In the meantime, the business owners are doing their best, including myself, to communicate how to navigate parking. All this communication, the misinformation and confusion really can be alleviated with clear communication from the city to follow through what was voted on. So I would like to propose to the City Council to consider issuing a public statement on the date when the kiosks, the 14 kiosks, are coming out. In addition, I would just like ask the City Council to consider putting together just a simple instruction that we can hand out at the Cedar Street Bridge Welcome Center as to parking, the 2-hour parking with this app option, and any other instructions that are needed to help with parking. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Stacy. And I'll just follow up for the council's benefit. We are implementing the removal of those kiosks. We're doing it piecemeal. Obviously, the parks crew who installed them has lots of other things to do this time of the year. If you walk up to them right now, I don't know how someone could be confused because they don't work. They're turned off. And I guess I'm happy to provide a couple points of communication to the public and the businesses. The first is our parking page or our news feed on the City of Sandpoint webpage. It's the most reliable information anyone can get right there. And then the second one is very simplistic. What the sign or the handout would say is read the parking signs. 2-hour parking. It's pretty simple right now. There's the extension possible if you want to text to pay. Those stickers are being ordered right now, so we can put them on and below the signs. But it's pretty simplistic. It's 2-hour parking in the zone, and any day now we'll have those stickers, and you can extend it. So we are in the process of removing those. We just can't pull the whole crew off everything to do it. Any other public comment?
Yes, Molly O'Reilly.
Good evening, Molly.
Molly O'Reilly, Sandpoint resident. I want to thank the mayor for renominating me for the Pedestrian Bicycle Advisory Committee. And I hope I'll be thanking the council for reappointing me. I think for the LOT, I hope you will include multi-use pathways in there. The ones we have are in complete disrepair often and not very usable and should be included in that LOT. I last time voted against it because there wasn't a plan. It's the first time I've ever voted against something like that. So please come up with a plan so that people will know what was going to what and where. Thank you.
Thank you for serving, Molly. Thanks for your dedicated service to Ped Bike. And pending a council outcome tonight, we will initiate that plan and activate a educational campaign on that local option tax. So any other public comment?
No, there's no more public comment.
All right, that will end the public general comment portion of the meeting. Moving right along, this consent calendar. I just want to thank both Molly, Bill Aiken, and former Mayor Carrie Logan for their willingness to serve on our various committees and commissions. Without that sort of support and volunteerism, they wouldn't work, and they play a very important role in helping inform, guide, and disseminate information. So with that, the consent calendar has a total amount of bills for approval of $401,571.70. Council members, are there any questions or is there anything you wish to remove from the consent calendar? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Moved by Aspiro, second by Duquette. I think she had to get in there. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Torres,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Rowe,
Yes.
Counselor Spiro,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Tate.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will now move on to the public hearing this evening. For the record, any written comments received were forwarded and provided to council. Received time to do so. We'll begin with the fiscal year 2027 budget and intent to use foregone levying authority. Before we take up public testimony, do council members have any questions for staff regarding the budget?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Schreiber.
perhaps now is a good time to restart that conversation.
Yeah, I think either before or after the public, either way. You may want to, I don't know, your call. You might want to hear from the public first, public comment, and then.
Sure, let's hear public comment first.
All right. Any other questions for Sarah or staff at this time on the budget? All right, we will now prepare to proceed with the public hearing. The public hearing this evening, please note city policy provides the presiding officer may allow gifted time during a public hearing. where you may gift your time to someone else. The person gifting time may only do so once, and the person receiving time may receive only one gift for a total of up to 6 minutes. If you are gifted time, please state as much when you begin speaking and state the name of the person who gifted you their time. For those gifting time, both parties must be present here in the chambers. Otherwise, each speaker will have up to 3 minutes. Please note that the rules of decorum, as recited earlier, are in effect. If you're on Zoom and wish to testify, you may raise your hand at this time. I would ask that those giving testimony please not repeat testimony that's already been given by others. If you would, please simply indicate you are in agreement with others who have testified before you. The public hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, please call the first speaker.
Molly O'Reilly.
Good evening.
Hi. Sandpoint has always been a very welcoming town, and our state is making that more difficult because some people who want to visit or live here will not be able to use the restrooms that are available to them. And so I'm bringing that issue to the budgeting because I will leave you with this, but I ask that you inventory all your single occupant restrooms, both for employees and the public, and sign them gender neutral. I ask that you inventory all multi-stall restrooms and install signs indicating either that no gender neutral restroom is nearby and thus these can be used, or where to find a nearby gender neutral restroom. These are part of the law in the state. And then inventory all city-owned employee and public changing areas and designate or create changing areas for those who legally can't use the current ones. And I don't think, that would be a budget item probably for next year. But having people come to town and either illegally use restrooms and be cited or embarrassed, or ones who know not come because, people need to pee every now and then. So I ask that you guys make us welcoming and hospitable. And I'll leave my suggestions with you. And I'm sorry this public hearing is so late in the process, but here I am.
Thank you, Molly. Oh, clerk.
To the clerk.
Is anyone else signed up to speak on the?
No, there's no other public comment.
All right, going once, going twice, the largest budget in Sandpoint's history, about $90 million. So the public hearing is now closed. We'll now move on to the action item on the agenda for deliberation and decision on the annual appropriations ordinance.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead. Let me just double check one thing, Councilman. I know you want to discuss it, so.
I thought
Yeah.
you might want to add a clarification to that statement you just made.
Which one was
Some
that?
wide eyes in the audience.
What's that?
The largest budget in Sandpoint
Oh,
history.
yes, the clarifications, because we are excited to be embarking on our wastewater treatment plant to the tune of
There
$30
we
million.
go.
Yes. Yes, that's exciting. And then we're going to get an update on that in a minute. I will now ask, are there any council deliberations on the budget? This is the appropriate time if you want to talk about urban forestry or anything else.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilman.
Yeah, I'd like to continue that conversation about urban forestry.
Go ahead. You have the floor there.
Okay, so do we have anything in the budget to take care of new trees that we're planting or any of the landscaping, such as the planter boxes downtown, that we heard a lot of public comment about the sad state of them?
Yeah. Specifically, we have, as you're aware, a couple pots for urban forestry. In terms of maintaining our new trees, there's not a line item that says, tree maintenance or tree nurturing to that effect. But we have budget authority. If we were to plant trees, we do have the ability to buy water bags and potentially go out and hand water if we need to. regarding the planter boxes, and it's not just the planter boxes, the swales downtown, it's all of our, kind of landscaped areas, whether it's in front of the Russell Center or Third Street Pier or the beach. Director Welker has worked and thought about a way to address that next year using some part-time seasonal employees, basically trying to get one dedicated to just the downtown. But I'll remind you, and I think some of the other council members are aware, we used to have a downtown business organization, DSBA, that funded beautification of downtown. And I would also point out that a number in front of Galehi and Associates on Church Street, a number of private businesses have taken on the responsibility to weed and take care and maintain and even plant flowers in those swales. So we are very cognizant of the fact that the way downtown looks and the appearance reflects on us as a community. We are trying to dedicate a resource to maintain that better next year. And I think it's something, depending on parking revenue, depending on other things that may come to pass, hopefully we can find and maintain the revenue to do that. But it's certainly a goal I share.
Thanks.
Can I just add a comment to that? Is that okay? I don't want, because you're probably going to move on to something else, Mr. Mayor, if I
Go
may.
ahead, Councilman.
I would like to thank our park staff that I know works very hard, but I'm also going to comment, if we don't find the employee who wants to do that, or quote unquote, the money to pay that employee, that there is a list of prioritization. We always find time to do what we want. And so maybe the grass grows an inch longer because an employee that we currently pay shifts the priority elsewhere, because we're going to most likely end up in the same exact place because it falls to the bottom of the list. Nobody does it. There's always going to be business owners that won't take care of it. It's a bell-shaped curve. Some are going to do great jobs. Some are going to do terrible jobs. Either way, Sandpoint looks badly this time of year. And I think if that job lives in the Parks and Rec area, then we have to put it somewhere different on the priority list. The War Memorial Field and that area behind where the memorial specifically is looks horrible. I quite frequently take 5:30, 6 a.m. walks and do some of the weeding in the parking lot of War Memorial, not to pat myself on the back, but to point out that somebody's got to do it. So I think we need to look at some prioritization outside of just hiring an employee, which I've heard over and over again, and it never happens.
Thank you, Council President Rule. And just for I just benefit, we did try to hire for that position at $18 an hour. And we weren't able to attract someone. And the one person who was interested said, how much does it pay? And they said they get paid almost $35 an hour to do the same thing for the private sector. So, we already put $1 million of the general fund into our park system each year, and we put a paltry amount into our roads. That's why our roads look the way they do. So it's all about priorities, as you mentioned, and where we want to direct our limited revenue. So hopefully next year we can get someone. No one likes looking at a weedy, beat up public space.
Again, I'd state we already have employees, so we're going to have to make some effort to reprioritize what we have. If we can't hire and we can't afford to hire, it doesn't mean the job goes undone.
Get that?
Mr. Mayor, may I comment along that same lines?
Absolutely. Go ahead,
We
Councilwoman.
can change course.
Go ahead.
You want to keep going? I'll wait for you.
Sure. Yeah, I would echo what Council President just said. And yeah, the direction of staff is squarely in your court. So that's not something that we can dictate via budget as far as I'm aware. But if that's the only tool we have, then I guess, I would ask, what pot does the flower pots come from? What budget does that come from?
I actually want to say it comes out of central services. Cheryl, what is it? Parks. Thank you.
Parks. Okay. It's been a very interesting journey to try and figure out whose role it is to to fill this need because in all other instances, the right of way falls under the Public Works Department. So nobody really wants to spend their budget on it because they all have other things to spend their budget on. But perhaps for 1 year, we could spend that money that's earmarked for flower pots on taking care of the permanent landscaping rather than temporary landscaping and see where we're at next year. So I guess I would make a motion to move the money from the flower pots to tree planting and maintenance of right-of-way landscaping.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
And then we can discuss.
Yeah.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Schreiber, second by Councilman Spiro to discuss reallocating flower pot downtown beautification dollars to either tree maintenance or general downtown maintenance parks.
So you're
I
talking.
don't know the
about
line items.
The purchase of the pots. That's all in the same line, just so you know. It doesn't, it's the same line item, so there would be no change.
Okay,
It just-
Direction of staff.
that's helpful.
I guess, do we have any benchmarks of, I'm not a weed expert, or how long it takes to like pull weeds? Like, do we have any, like,
I can be your data point if you
well,
want.
I mean, like, obviously we have a lot to do as a city.
Mm.
Some people will say the weeds are a priority. I never see them. I could care less. That's me.
Mhm.
It doesn't bother me. I don't even know. I just walk and I do things. I'm usually on the phone talking to people about parking. So my mind is over here. Do we, like, how much time would how much time would it take for our staff to be like pulling weed? Like, obviously we'd probably do sections at a time. I'm just curious if we have any benchmarks of what that looks like, whether it's a baseball field, like, or, because definitely, and maybe this would be a good opportunity to, as we move the money from the flowers to pay for the removal of weeds or tree maintenance. That might give us a good idea, a good starting point if we don't have one yet. But do we have any idea?
Councilman Spiro, I'm not aware of one. Director Welker's on holiday this week. What I can tell you is that if this is a council priority, I will pass it along and implement it to staff, and we can track how many hours we spend, what's it take. And it's a slippery slope because I drove by the roundabout on Schweitzer Cutoff the other day. I'm looking at it being like, look at all the weeds growing in that thing. And it's the roundabout on Larch, and it's all of our public spaces. So we don't really, our parks and rec crew have the high priority areas, City Beach, the irrigation, the mowing, the ball fields. And then everything else is secondary priority. So, but it sounds like this line item is all one single line item, so it's not broken out. But if the council is supportive and unanimous, I will make sure that that is one of the very top priorities.
And to clarify, there is a part-time position that is to water the flowers also. So there's two parts to that. So that would just, again, that could be repurposed to not hire flower waterer, but to hire a person to pull weeds or whatever is needed.
Thanks for that clarification. I was under the impression that that was a contractor that we used for
They're an employee.
They're an employee. So we were
Employee.
able to find an employee for flower pots,
Yeah.
but not for.
It's a part-time parks.
So we do have the employee. We just need to repurpose them.
Yeah, the contract would have to be different. Right now, the contract is basically water the flowers twice a day.
But it could be trees. They could be watering trees, right? I see them driving around in a golf cart with a water tank on the back.
Yeah, it's ours.
So
It's
we
ours.
have the employee, we have the equipment necessary.
Mhm.
We're just choosing not to do it.
I guess, are there specific trees you're talking about?
Well, I mean, the Public Works Department could probably tell us what trees were planted and then died because they weren't maintained.
Yeah, I would have to look at where you want watering, but if you want to help me understand what trees we need to water, I'm not super aware of those.
Well, we took out several trees in our downtown core in the last year or two. There's several stumps that are still just sticking out of the ground. It'd be great to fill those spots with more trees and then take care of them. If we already have an employee on staff to do it, that sounds great.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Holly.
if I may just help in the conversation, our downtown has irrigation. So as far as replanting is concerned, you would not need to hire anyone to water those trees. There's irrigation that's existing that we can use to maintain those when we do go back and replant. On our sidewalk projects, historically, we've relied on the adjacent property owner to care for our trees. Last year was the last year that we took that approach. We had about 4 trees on the division corridor that did not make it. The adjacent property owners, well, we did our best to educate and they had the best of intentions. Ultimately, we did not see the success in watering. So this year we're piloting a program where the city would take on the maintenance responsibility for the first 3 years and maintain water bags. And that would be supported by our street department.
Oh, so the street department, it's not Parks and Rec.
It depends on where the tree is planted, but for our sidewalk projects, when they're in the public right of way, you'd see our street team taking that effort on.
Okay, and so we're probably going to see some significant planting with our Cedar Street project.
Cedar Street and Division, we're going to go for phase 2, we'll have tree plantings, and we're going to go back to phase 1 as well to plant trees there as well. So we're going to pilot it, we're going to see what the effort is, and do our best to keep these trees alive, at least for the first 3 years is what we've been told is most critical.
Mr. Mayor, point of order.
Thank you.
There is a motion and second on the table.
Yes.
That should probably be addressed. My understanding is that no matter how council votes, nothing will change because the motion is to move money from the same line item to the same line item. But
You are correct.
let's keep us on track and address that motion.
Thank you, Zach, legal counsel. So, yeah, getting back and we can have these discussions, but there is a motion, there is a second. What we've learned is that it's all one line item. I didn't bring my budget book with me tonight.
With all due respect, it sounds like it's not. It sounds like Public Works is actually going to be taking this.
Well, specifically, I think your motion was to take the tree basket and the tree maintenance and roll that into tree healthcare and related weeding.
Did
And
you
it's
want me to
it's all under parks.
motion?
Yeah, if you have it right there.
I'm definitely confused now.
Yeah, take the money from the tree baskets or the flower baskets and put it towards tree planting and maintenance of our landscaping. I didn't specifically say weeding.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard
Replanting
that. Okay.
and maintaining our landscaping in our right of way, which it sounds like our Public Works Department is going to be doing. So it actually will be changing.
Well, they're just doing that for the projects we're involved in. So our new projects.
It sounds to me that there's multiple people doing this across the city. There's a parks crew and there's also a street crew. So depending on where it's at, it depends on where it falls in the budget. The stuff that's for the flower baskets is in the parks budget because that's their employee that does flower watering and then also buys the baskets. So and I don't know if we know where the trees are going to go right now. So I would propose to leave the budgets where they're at. And then sounds like an operational thing. It does not sound like it's a budget discussion at all. I mean, we have the money in the budget. So to me, this is just in my opinion.
Yeah. What I just heard from the Public Works Director is that they're piloting a new project to do a better job of taking care of the trees that we're planting. And I would like to see that they have the resources necessary to make that happen.
It's my understanding we have those resources in the budget for Cedar Street, for Division, for the trees we'll be planting and this year's projects.
And the right of way is generally the responsibility of the Public Works Department.
Generally, yep.
Yes.
So
The 100
any other trees that would be
100
planted in the
miles, yeah.
right of way would be the responsibility of the Public Works Department.
Of the adjacent property owner, that's what we've tried to do. If we're planting new trees.
As opposed to the Parks and Rec Department.
Parks and Rec take care of park trees and they lean in and take care of downtown anytime we can.
I guess my motion's been seconded. I'm ready to vote on it.
So I do want to also bring this up that this is going to be moving ordinance. I mean, your ordinance now would be changing and it's going to also change in the, like, behind the scenes. There's a lot of work that I have to do. This really should have been talked about last meeting or the meeting before. Not saying we can't do this, but I can't just do this on the whim like that, if that makes sense. So
I apologize for
The
putting you in that
budget, I
position.
think
Did
you-
bring it up the last two meetings.
this is the first I've heard of this coming up at all, about moving a budget, flower budget money at all. We talked about urban forestry. We did not talk about about flower basket money at all. And that is a totally different budget. So that's how come when we were talking urban forestry, we were going to come back and it would be streets to streets, moving the capital into streets. Maybe I'll pull it up so you can see what I'm talking about. And again, the money is in the budget. I think you're fine with budget wise. I think if this is an operational thing to say that we need to have the parks guys go out and water more trees, that is not to me that, I don't know.
It's all
legally-
about general fund. If it's operational general fund, the general fund, and it doesn't affect the max budget that you've already adopted and or the balanced budget that's presented in front of you tonight, any operational decision can be made at any point during the budget year. You could follow up on this, 2 months from now or 3 months from now. And then you can decide at that point whether the adjustment requires opening of the budget. But it doesn't sound like any of the discussion that's been had would in any way require opening of the budget for adjustment of those funds.
Correct, unless we start moving from parks fund to, or the parks general fund to streets general fund. So when we have the ordinance, and that's what.
Yeah, in my preference, Councilman Schreiber and council as a great whole, if this is a consensus, and I guess I'm ignorant, I didn't know other than the dead trees on Division, that tree watering was a concern. Just let me know and I'll let Holly know and we'll water the trees. We're getting a water truck this year.
Just as soon as you hire somebody, right?
No, we have staff. We have street staff. It's prioritization. What I was talking about hiring someone is we tried to hire someone to be specifically focused on the downtown stormwater swales, weeding, rebarking, cleaning, all that stuff. And that's where we were unable to hire someone this year.
Yeah.
Or would you need if the ordinance isn't passed tonight as presented, would you need a special meeting in order to meet deadlines?
I would need to go back and look at the rules, but yes, we have one more meeting that we can pass that, but then it needs to be, I don't even know if the publishing, because it has to be published by a certain date.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman.
With all due respect to Councilman Schreiber, I understood that it was removing the baskets, the 40,000 to put towards somebody pulling weeds, not the tree trimming. So I misunderstood the motion. I just want to make that clear for the record.
So it's for planting new trees, not for tree trimming, according to
Well,
our.
my whole
urban
brain was
forester.
about
He
removing
already
the-
has a plan for maintaining the trees, the existing trees.
Yeah.
Problem is that the direction that he's been given is to not plant more trees than we can take care of, and we didn't have a system in place to take care of new trees, and that's what I'm trying to accomplish.
I was thinking weeds, so my brain was
Yeah,
on
no
weed,
problem.
not weed.
We started it.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Tate.
I like where your head's at. I think the investing in our trees are their assets and we need to be able to invest in them. And I think Eric was alluding to developing a program of organization and accounting for trees and how to maintain them, et cetera. And I just don't know if this is the right place and time to do that. But I do think that we do need to look forward towards maintaining our trees, planting new ones and watering them. But what I've learned in my 7 months of council is things take a little time. It's slow. So that's kind of where I sit on that right now.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Duquette.
we started with weeds. This is, I think, the confusing. Weeds started, you made a comment about weeds and reprioritizing. I had a couple comments on weeds. I wish Jason were here. He has told me that the contract with the flower baskets, she quit.
She did.
Is that so?
Mhm.
Because of the smoke. So then he got his
Yeah,
park.
we are doing that now. That's correct. We are doing that now.
Parks crew are the ones running around in the little carts watering now. So that's taking an employee. I'm just saying, we have talked sustainability committee about those swales. I have talked to Jason about an MOU I have people who would, in the interim, volunteer to clean those out. I have people, I want to just say one thing. I saw a group of people the other day, and I pulled over and asked them if they were volunteers, and they call themselves mob weeders. They were weeding around the post office. Even there are weeds in the street, where the cracks in the street. I mean, weeds happen. You know, they'll go anywhere they can. I'm just saying, if Jason was here, he could clarify some of the money thing, the issue, who's doing what, because we've had this conversation. I thanked that group immensely for volunteering to do that. Besides this, in the interim, we can work on getting those cleaned up. The Sustainability Committee is working on it. And if we allow MOUs for volunteers, we have talked about an adopt a swale. This went on at the Parks and Rec Committee meeting. There's just nobody here in that group. Maybe Cheryl knows better what's been going on with them.
So to give you an update on
This just goes back
all
to
of
the
this.
weeds. I don't know if we need to do the motion and,
So
I
okay.
think it's going to be really important for Madam Clerk to restate the
Okay.
exact
Yeah, because
word
I'm
of
not
the
sure
motion
where
first.
got off.
I'm giving her a minute to look back so she can.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to throw some of those things out there before we spend too much time on those.
Mr. Mayor, would it be beneficial if Kyle did that?
Well, I
Be
want to
specific.
make sure we understand what is in the record currently.
Okay.
Do you not have that?
No, I'm like,
Okay.
Can I remove my
One
second?
from weeds to trees.
Let's let Kyle restate his exact
Okay.
motion first.
For the third time. Go ahead, Kyle.
To move the money that was dedicated to flower baskets to planting and maintaining trees and our landscaping in the right of way.
But there's no dollar figure and there's no line item attached to that.
I believe it was 40,000. Mr. Mayor?
It's roughly about 40,000. Well, between the purchase of the baskets and the watering the baskets. It's more than that?
less. So I'm here to just clarify the flower basket, the watering, the contractor. The original contract, it's an employee contract that we had. She did resign. We have since found a replacement that actually is starting tomorrow morning. And this person will take over the watering of the flower baskets. The total investment with the baskets and the contract is roughly, I'm gonna say 11 to 12, maybe 15,000.
Okay.
So the baskets themselves are about 8 to 9. And then you have the cost of the contract employee.
Which I thought was about 17-ish.
No, that was like high-end total for everything, including the fertilizer.
I guess I know we were hearing tonight on other things. If I felt there was inadequate money in the budget, I would certainly be asking for you to do more. If this is a priority of the council, we have money in the budget to redirect priorities towards watering trees. Now, planting trees, we've got an urban forestry budget that can plant trees. So I think it's just not a budgetary item. It's a directive item.
How much of the urban forestry budget is dedicated to planting trees?
As we've explained, and Eric can clarify, we have various pockets. A lot of it is held for unknown hazard tree removal, because those you don't know. But in total, where are we at? 50,000, Eric-ish, right? Between the three? Yes, I'm getting a thumbs up.
Yeah, I saw a breakdown of it and I didn't see any line item for planting new trees. It was hazard removal
What I would suggest,
for the required heights, consultants to update code, which
and we also had the grant from, we're doing the $100,000 grant for that. We're doing the tree inventory and residual going towards tree planting.
that was from this current budget year, not next budget year. We didn't apply for that grant for next.
No, but we haven't spent that money yet. That's why we didn't apply.
Mr. Mayor,
Go
if I
ahead,
might.
Councilwoman.
Maybe to make this a lot simpler, I think it's become very obvious to me, at least, and it's not always, that there's money in the budget, there's line items in the budget. What I would like to suggest to Councilman Schreiber is that you bring this back as an action item at a further meeting that's well-defined after you speak with the different staff members that can create some sort of direction. Maybe you involve the mayor in that discussion so that we all really understand what you want, because I don't think anybody up here really understands what you want. I'm not sure you understand what you want. I understand from being up here that it's Parks and Rec that should take care of the swales downtown, but it's Public Works that does some of the right-of-way work. They're not responsible for it, but we don't want our trees to die, so we're going to try to water them for 3 years. So until this can be clear to the rest of the councilors, I would suggest we move on through the budget and you come back with an action item. I will sign off on your action item.
I'll sign
That
off.
we can discuss it in front at a different council meeting, because I feel like we're spinning wheels here and we've got a lot to get through on the budget. But I support you in the direction you're going. I share a lot of the same frustrations. But if there's money in the budget, then we come back, and I'm sure that's legal for us to say, this line item in the budget that says flowers, guess what? We're not doing flowers, we're doing trees.
Just
But
let
if
me
the
know.
money's there, we just need to shift it. But we need to spend some time figuring out why, how, and who's all involved in that.
Mr. Mayor, I
Go ahead.
withdraw my motion.
Motion's withdrawn. Moving on, any other discussion on the budget before the clerk reads the title?
Did you, there is one item that Holly wanted to speak on for the SURA. And I'm gonna pull up.
Good evening again, Mayor, Council. Our Urban Renewal Agency, the Northern District, we budgeted in FY '26 to construct sidewalk on the west side of Boyer, adjacent to the Pisney development. So at from
Chestnut up to
Chestnut to
Culver's.
Baldy Mountain Road. And we are still, the project is still underway, but it's having to roll over to the next fiscal year. So Sarah was able to update that in their budget. And so we have updated, or our requested B is to update that in City Council's budget to roll over this project. Sarah's got on the screen the adjustment. So the bottom line Sarah request would not change, but we're adding back in that Boyer sidewalk project at Baldy, so we complete that in the next fiscal year as a rollover project. So just a clarification on how we're anticipating to spend out those SURA dollars and roll that project over.
Thanks, Holly. Any questions on that, council members? Do we need a motion to make that amendment?
I think that makes sense to do that, because we'll need to update the capital book and all there's the two projects in there that are related to that. So basically the Great Northern, here's the initial SURA request here. That Great Northern Road was a little over $4 million. And this did also include that 25,000 of economic development. That was the initial request. And then when SURA came back and they did not fund that 25,000, this is the final then numbers for this. So we basically reduced the Great Northern Road to reallocate that. Since we're already at max budget, we couldn't increase the budget any.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman.
The grant that we applied for the Great Northern Project required a match. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, it doesn't, I believe that grant did not require a specific match, but we're intending to provide a 20% match.
Okay, and that wasn't written into the application?
It is. I don't believe it's a grant requirement that we provide a 20% match, but in our application, we are providing a 20% match.
And that project would break over a couple years, so it would likely flow into the next fiscal year as well.
Sometimes,
It's a commitment from Sura, basically.
I guess my concern would be if we get the grant and then don't have the match because we spent it on a sidewalk.
No, they have forecasted the commitment for the grant. And this is because we didn't spend the money this fiscal year. They've carried it over in their budget. We just had it allocated in the wrong line items in ours. And I'd say it's neutral to Sura would be how to describe it in terms of their whole northern district because it wasn't spent.
Yeah, this is in the fiscal year 26 budget to do. It just didn't get, it's not going to be done by year end. So it needs to basically roll into our next year. So the money has already been set aside, if that makes sense, out of the Great Northern Project.
Got it. Thank you.
So I guess I'd entertain a motion to adopt the adjusted line items for the urban renewal agency budget in the Sandpoint fiscal year 27 budget as reflected. Does that work, Sarah?
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Aspiro, second by Rule. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Has to be a roll call
Oh,
vote.
thank you.
Roll call vote. We never do.
I like the
Roll call vote.
Counselor Spiro,
Yes.
Counselor Tate,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Torres.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on, any other council deliberation on the budget? If not, I'd ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance. That's you.
All right, I was just waiting to see if there's anybody. An ordinance of the City of Sandpoint, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, termed the annual appropriation ordinance pursuant to Idaho Code 50-1003, appropriating $92,359,091 to defray the necessary expenses and liabilities of the City of Sandpoint, Idaho for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2026, levying a sufficient tax upon the taxable property and specifying the objects and purpose for which said appropriation is made, providing for severability, publication, and an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I would entertain a motion that the ordinance pass its first reading by title only.
So moved.
Second.
This will be a roll call vote.
Was that a Spiro and Tate?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
All right, I'm Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Tate,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Spiro,
Yes.
Counselor Torres.
Yes.
The ordinance has passed its first reading by title only. I'd entertain a motion that the rules requiring 3 separate readings once in the ordinance entirety be suspended and the ordinance pass its second and third reading under suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Shriver, second by Duquette. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Spiro,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Tate,
Yes.
Counselor Torres,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Rule.
Yes.
I'll let you say it.
Oh, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And council, the motion is passed. The ordinance is considered read, passed, and adopted under suspension of the rules. Thank you to Sarah and the Finance Department, to all of our directors, to all of our managers, and to you, the council. We did it a little differently this year. We tried to incorporate a few extra weeks just so everyone can try to be aligned on what we're doing. Appreciate all your efforts, your work, your discussion, and excited to implement this budget. It is going to be really significant to get this wastewater treatment plant moving. So thank you, everyone.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman.
if I just have to say this, just for me, that I probably shouldn't, but it bothers me that it's called a council's budget. And it seems like we fight like crazy to get things that we think are important in it. And I don't know how to work around that, but I have tried for 2 years, and I'm not dissing on anybody. It's done wonderfully. Everybody works really hard. But when you go try to find money for something, there isn't any. And so the fact that it's always called a council's budget just drives me crazy. So I had to get that out.
Thank you, Councilwoman Duquette. I will send you a video that will explain exactly
Okay.
what you need to do to put any money in the budget
Okay.
where you want if you can get 4 votes.
Okay, thanks.
John Reuter, 2000 and I think it was 2012. Moving on. With the budget adopted, I'll now entertain a motion for approval of the resolution certifying the amount of foregone increase that is to be included in the budget. There a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Spiro, second by Tate. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Tate,
Yes.
Counselor Sparrow,
Yes.
Counselor Torres,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and thank you, Council. Moving on to old business. First under old business is the deliberation discussion regarding Skyview Estates subdivision preliminary plat file PS 26-0001. We will now bring and yield the floor to Deputy Planning Community Development Director, Mr. Bill Dean, to speak on this item.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thanks so much. For the record, Bill Dean. A month ago, you entertained and conducted a public hearing regarding a subdivision application about 4.5 acres called Skyway up on Boyer. At the end of that public hearing, there was some deliberation by city council members and had a question about the road condition, the right-of-way width at the first 100 or 120 feet or so of the new road that would come off Boyer, specifically regarding the property immediately to the north. And the concern was pursuant to 10.2 of our municipal code, when subdivisions occur that are adjacent to land that could be subdivided in the future, those future roadway improvements, that frontage could be done at such time as that other property develops. And that would have left a condition here. We had a subdivision with a sidewalk that just ended on a parcel that may or may not develop in a timely fashion. We have every reason to believe that at some point in the future it would. All our planning documents point in that direction. It's no longer a rural area. It stands to reason that at some time this will come in for subdivision. However, it may not happen for a long time. So based on the commentary from council, we got together with the applicant and talked about some options, met with a public works crew, and came back with an option for you that would enable this roadway section right here, just at the first 100 or so feet, to have the road pavement condition altered so that we can still maintain the subdivision plat as you see, yet that section right there would include a sidewalk and a small 2-foot landscaping strip as opposed to just having the sidewalk in it. So it would look like this instead. And a way to do that is to just narrow up the drive aisle widths as you come off Boyer. It still meets public safety access standards. What it does is it enables the subdivision to function a little bit better, given the fact that that parcel may not develop for a while and develop frontage. But when it does come in, we would be able to expand and widen and do the normal improvements you would see. So I think this is a happy medium. I think it addressed the concern that you had that we're just ending a sidewalk and the pavement condition immediately adjacent to the property line would have looked a little different and a little out of place. And this is a solution that is enabled by our code and I think elegantly solves the problem. So with that, I'll turn it over to council if you have any questions.
Thank you, Deputy Director Dean. Council, just remind you are in deliberation. The public hearing is closed, no new information. And I just have a question of the council for legal. If the council is agreeable to this or would like to include this in deliberation, do they need to specify this as a condition of approval? Or can it be assumed that this is what we are approving?
To add this layout as a condition of approval that's been presented tonight. And just for clarification, the adjustment of the road width and or the frontage improvements does not adjust any of the lots that were previously provided in the last preliminary.
Correct. It's still 26 lots.
Therefore, Mr. Mayor, there's not a substantial change from the last to this. This is basically just an opportunity for them to visually see what they were asking for as they concluded deliberations at the last meeting.
And just to wrap it up, the action tonight is the approval of the subdivision.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilwoman Duquette.
I guess my question would be for Director Dean or Public.
That's fine. That works.
Bill or legal. My concern last time was the one way in and out. I know the discussion was there was another road addendum or something to go out, base camp or another subdivision. I was reading this letter to the city from Dobler Engineering about 246 average weekday trips coming in and out of that road. It says here the sole access to the subdivision will be from Boyer Road. 100% of the traffic will flow through the Boyer Road intersection. That's kind of not the understanding we were left with, that there was going to be, there's an option for that, but if people aren't directed that way, this just makes it sound like everybody's going in and out that one road.
Let me clarify for you. So in all likelihood, most of the denizens of the subdivision, the future property owners, are probably going to use this road that you see here. In the condition upon, platting and doing the public improvements, there is a connection on the eastern edge to the north. That was basically connecting to a subdivision at the time it was platted to leave a connection. So this subdivision actually, in the fullness of time, is going to have 5 connection points, not one. It's going to have 5. At the outset, you're going to have Boyer, and then you're going to have a connection that is shown there on the top right of your screen. So you have 2 connection points. But that's a narrower connection up there on the northern piece. It will work. It will function. It certainly work for emergency vehicles. So in all likelihood, I think it stands to reason that the people who would live here are going to be generally accessing Boyer from the principal road. In the fullness of time, this will be a network and it'll be different. That's what you can expect up front. In the way we do these traffic memos is just to basically verify that the trip counts aren't going to throw off the expected level of service on the nearby roadways. And that is very much the conclusion here. Otherwise, we would have heard differently from the engineers.
Okay, so it seems like a lot of traffic in and out. Boyer.
Yeah, until you have the network built out, you can expect to see that to be the principal roadway. Absolutely.
When they do these studies, do they look at Boyer? All the traffic that's on Boyer at
Yep.
that time too?
Yeah, there's a traffic model that's run. This gets plugged in and they have to run the models. If you had a 400 or 500 unit subdivision or something like that, you'd see all kinds of things popping up that need to be improved, but not in the case when you're talking about 4.5 acres with 27 lots, 26 lots.
It's a lot of people though, 25 new homes,
But we have to look at that.
probably 2 drivers.
We have to look at that. Will there be additional people? Absolutely. Did the traffic engineers have some reasonable industry standards that they apply to looking at this? Absolutely. Would we have included in a set of conditions of approval things that are needed to make it work pursuant to city standards? Absolutely would have done that, but it didn't reach that threshold.
Okay, seems like a turn lane or something, but I get it, can't do
Yeah.
it.
But we do look at that very closely.
Director.
Thanks, I'm not an engineer again.
Deputy Director Dean, is there a proposed motion, or should I just suggest that the council make a motion to, if they're in a motion for approval to confirm and adopt the findings and reason statement approved by the Planning Commission on July 8th, 2026, with an additional condition that the reference layout presented this evening is a additional condition?
That's what I would recommend.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Schreiber, second by Tate to approve the preliminary plat, adopting the findings and reason statement approved by the Planning Commission on July 8th, 2026, with an additional condition that the layout presented this evening be incorporated as a additional condition.
Mr. Mayor,
Any discussion? Go ahead.
I just wanted a clarification from Mr. Dean. So it's the new piece of sidewalk is going to function more as a temporary sidewalk until that other piece of land is developed, and then it would come up to that 5-foot planting strip. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that that's what you said. I wanted to make sure I heard it correctly. Thank you.
Any more discussion, council? So it'll be a roll call vote.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
I have to say, I don't like the one way in out, but yes.
Counselor Tate,
Yes.
Counselor Torres,
Yes.
Counselor Sparrow.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and thank you, council. Moving on, item number 12, which is the proposed resolution regarding the local option tax that was discussed at our last council meeting. I'll just mention that after hearing your questions, concerns, the proposed resolution and ballot measure language before you, as you can see, it went 90, I put 90% towards maintaining, repairing, reconstructing, improving city streets, including related drainage and safety improvements, and 10% towards repairing, improving, and constructing sidewalks, pedestrian crossing, bicycle facilities, pathways, trails, and improvements that connect the city's transportation
Mr. Mayor,
network. Go ahead, Council.
we
Wilson.
still have the plat up. Can we pull the language up?
I do not control that.
Trying to find it on.
Thank you.
This looks great.
Because I can't see any of it.
It's online.
Oh, it should be. Yeah, I was like, I don't know.
Who's pulling it up?
The clerk, I believe.
Oh,
Oh, I'm-
I was just canceling his screen. That's
Oh,
all.
no, I don't have a computer that controls it.
Okay,
Are you plugged in? Sorry, I was just waiting.
that's all right. Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
might I ask the council, my recollection that we had talked about sort of a 30, 70, 60, 40 type of,
You are absolutely correct, Council President, and you can certainly make that motion to readjust it, and I'll just put out why I put 90-10. I don't know about you, it's anecdotal, but everyone I speak to who, when we're talking about the city, they're not talking about parking, they're talking about how grateful they are that we did Rhodes and Pine Street, and that we're doing Cedar. And, based on the potential revenue from this and our backlog of road maintenance, it just seems like, if we really want to tackle our roads meaningfully for 10 years, that we're going to need the lion's share of this local option tax revenue to do that. So just my own, inkling that a 90-10 is going to garner more support, because that's what I hear is roads, roads, roads. But you are free to adjust, but that would be my preference. Happy to hear your thoughts, and it's ultimately your decision, unless it's tied.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
I would say roads is the most important to me. That is something we can show. Roads that are under that study that most need to be done, we could actually do I know not listing those roads but when they're done, there could be like a reader board, this is done, project, check, project.
Local
check,
option tax
project,
funded.
check. This is what we've done with the money. The 60-40 thing bothers me a little bit because it's wiggle room. That's what people don't want. It sounds like they want to know this is what we're going to do. And as far as, except that I do like, it has to include the pathways, the bike, accessibility, safety for sure. And I'm with Molly on the multiple use tracks, roads.
Yes. If you scroll down a little bit more, you can see the actual ballot language things there. There we go.
Because I do like that. I like to ride down on Pine Street on that one because I feel safer. So I see that should be some of it. I think the 60-40 is not enough. I just think it leaves too much, nobody wants gray areas. It sounds like they don't trust us to do what we say we're gonna do with the money. And if it's that big of a difference, there's a lot of other 40% that money could be spent on besides the roads. So I don't know, I kind of liked that. I had questions.
If I can just
Go ahead.
clarify what you're saying, Councilwoman Duquette, you're generally supportive of the 90-10 breakout.
Right. I don't think we need to include new sidewalks in this because new sidewalks come already with building projects. It
Some.
appears, some. But yeah, to fix the sidewalks, like I said, I've seen people trip and fall on sidewalks walking. If you wanted to in town, ride your bike on the sidewalk, you can't. Some of the sidewalks, you can't even do that. So I would like to see it to fix our sidewalks.
It would.
I think
Well, I mean,
that's,
as the money.
I think
will.
that's in there. To find, oh, I had a question. What is meaningful support for targeted waterfront? I saw that in there somewhere. I wrote it down. Define.
That's been,
The Bay Trail.
that's been out.
Support.
So right now, what's in front of you, look at the screen, that is what's on the table. 10% for maintaining, repairing, improving, constructing sidewalks, pedestrian crossing, bicycle facilities,
that was-
pathway trails, and all improvements that connect to the city's transportation network.
Somewhere above in your, it said meaningful support for targeted waterfront. I know people want to talk about the Bay Trail, Sand Creek.
Well, this is the ballot language that
Okay.
would be.
Can you scroll up on this? Thanks. Yeah, it was in here, I guess. But I had a question.
The resolution, gotcha.
Maybe I'll look for it while somebody else is talking. Listing projects according to the need in the study, check off as completed. So the public can see always, like I said, there's a board somewhere. There's, huh?
You look for the water one?
Where is it?
The third from the bottom.
From the bottom.
Targeted support for targeted waterfront.
Yeah, the survey also demonstrated meaningful support for targeted waterfront, park, trail, pathway, and open space improvements, particularly where such projects expand public access. I don't know.
Correct. And that's just
Park-
referencing
Parks,
the survey.
people think parks has money to do parks. I don't know.
All the public will see at the ballot if you, if
Okay,
this
at
is
the bottom.
approved, is that
Okay,
last page.
all right.
The ballot language is
Um,
basically what you're approving.
I do agree that it would be nice to have help on all the people that come through town and use the roads and use the sidewalks and haul their big boats through to help pay for that. I don't like the groceries, but I've said that before and I understand why we can't do that. Use revenues from the tax to cover costs. Also, it says use revenues from the tax to cover the cost of collecting and administering. That must be for staff work.
Yes.
And so I think that's not on the ballot itself though, is it?
Can you scroll down?
I don't want there to be any questioning. People are not understanding, oh, well, who's going to take that money? Where's that money?
The city will use revenues from the tax to cover the actual cost of collecting and administering the
Yes.
tax. So that is on the ballot.
Okay, that can't be more specific.
After administrative cost, revenues from this proposed tax, the amount of which is unknown, will be allocated to the following.
See the amount unknown, I want this to pass.
We are going to, if you approve this, we are going to start tomorrow morning with a very robust educational campaign and outreach.
10%
And I can
And
promise you.
please remember, council, you cannot advocate for or against. The only thing you can do is educate.
I understand.
And second to
That's-
that second paragraph on the ballot language is statutory with regards to the amount collected after administration. And I think you also had already committed in your discussions that you would work on an actual operational plan as to what you intend
Okay.
to
Okay.
utilize these
Okay.
funds for, make it very public, and then do
Okay, I
exactly
just want it very clear.
what you said, Counselor Duquette, which is start checking things off the list as the funds are used.
All right.
Any other discussion on the proposed ballot language?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Council President.
Well, I'm a little confused how a percentage of 90 and 10 is any different than a percentage of 60-40 when you're talking about gray areas. So Councilwoman Duquette referenced, well, it's really gray to be 60-40. Well, it's no less gray to be 90-10.
Well, 10% to 40%, it's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, but it doesn't guarantee anything. I'm going to move on from that. My recollection of what I heard this council say was either a choice sort of between a 60-40 or more leaning towards a 70-30. And that's not what I've seen brought in front of us. So this is kind of what I think the mayor would prefer.
Yes.
But this is kind of the council's decision. So that is a little bit frustrating when I think we made that relatively clear. I think it's rather confusing to have the language whereas referring to, and I don't feel like it's transparent to refer to park and waterfront up there and then not actually have any reference to that in the ballot language. So that doesn't seem as clear to me. And then my final comment would be, you know, if you build the roads, you'll fill them more. We're just kind of repaving the roads in this instance. But if you spend more money there, you'll get more there. If you spend more money elsewhere, you might get more people off the roads and improve what the sign says when Sandpoint, you drive into Sandpoint, that it says it's a walking town. So we need both. And I think this is a little extreme in its balance, and we will have more deterioration of sidewalks, et cetera, and so on. Sandpoint is a very walkable and bikeable town because it's flat and it's only 4 square miles. Not saying the roads don't need work, but I think this percentage is a little bit imbalanced, and I think it depends on who you talk to about what they want.
Thank you, Council President. Any other council discussion? You are absolutely right, Council President Rule. This would be my priority. It just takes a simple council motion to change those percentages. I just wanted the opportunity to pitch 90-10.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman Trevor.
could you remind us what the estimates of these was?
Well, it's changed a bit, but you're talking about the potential revenue?
Yes, correct.
1.4-ish from 2021. Is that 1.6 a year? I will state that in talking to the manager of Super One the other day, he says their sales have almost doubled since then, annual sales. And Super One is the largest contributor to this local option tax or the grocery market. I don't know if that's a product of inflation or growth in the region. So I would expect it to be substantially more than $1.6 million a year. So we just don't know what the collections will come in until the first year is complete.
Gotcha. Thanks. I just wanted to put some idea of what numbers we were talking about as we talk about percentages.
160, yeah.
200,000 to 400,000 if we go from 10 to 20, or, you know, because the nice thing about the beauty, I would say, of bike ped infrastructure is that it's significantly cheaper to build and maintain than roads are. So while we don't need as much funding going towards it, it also, as Council President points out, is much more effective use of our dollars.
Mhm.
We can move a lot more people on a bike path than we can on our streets.
That's a good point. Councilman Tate.
I would vote in favor of a compromise, maybe a 80-20, 75-25, just if someone wants a temperature check from this seat.
Councilman Tate, any other council discussion? If not, I'd entertain a motion to.
I would
any other
entertain a motion to change the percentages to, I could go with the 25-75 model.
So moved.
The 75 for maintaining the roads and the 25 for maintaining pathways and bike facilities, et cetera.
There's a motion by President Rule, 75-25 split on the allocation of the revenue after administrative costs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tate. Any council discussion?
Please. I agree 100%. I'd like to see no vehicles in town. Getting people out of their cars is not going to happen. I've been told a billion times not to even try it. Yeah, I'm with that. I didn't want any of that parks I ride and walk everywhere, ride my bike and walk everywhere. I'd love to have more trails and sidewalks worked on. That sounds fine. I don't think new sidewalks necessarily fixing sidewalks, but I could go with 75-25.
Any other council discussion? If not, I would call for a vote.
Your
Oh,
Mayor.
go ahead, Councilman Schreiber.
Can we remove those two words from the resolution by motion?
You absolutely can amend the
Waterfront and
resolution.
park.
Yeah, see,
Yep.
that's what bothered me.
So I think your motion is just to adjust those percentages, isn't the adoption of the resolution
Okay.
yet? So this pending motion needs to be voted on first.
If there's no other discussion, it's going to be a roll call vote.
Counselor Tate,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Torres,
Yes.
Counselor Sparrow,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes,
Counselor Schreiber.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
All right, so the proposed ballot language has been amended. Next, we would entertain a motion to adjust the resolution, striking the words park and
Waterfront.
waterfront.
What was the first word?
Thank you.
Please write.
Park.
Park and waterfront,
In the
the opposite
third
order.
from the bottom.
The third, whereas the survey also demonstrated meaningful support, targeted waterfront parks, pathways. So we would just.
The
take
whereas is referencing the survey results, though.
Yeah.
Are those words inaccurate in relationship to the survey results, even though the choice is to have ballot language that doesn't include park or waterway? You don't want to misrepresent the survey results.
could you go to the top of that for me to see what it's labeled as, please? Election ballot question.
And a resolution is just an affirmation, of course, and
Okay.
statement of the council
Thanks.
situation. I mean, the survey did show that, so
Right.
I understand what you're saying. I didn't see it as an issue because
Okay,
the ballot language is
okay.
the big thing here.
I just want it perfectly clear what we're doing.
In 50 years, somebody might be like, there is support for other things, but
Right. And
That's a good point. There was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the 10 years is on there. Is that
yeah,
what we
you're welcome to
decided?
change that as
You
well.
like 10 years?
Massive backlog. Even the 10-year collections, even if they're wonderful, won't get us out of our hole, but they'll certainly make a
I
difference.
think the language is fine.
Okay.
We're gonna do education. It's gonna be great.
If that's the case, I would then entertain a motion to adopt the resolution, the proposed resolution regarding the local option tax as amended. And anyone ready?
Oh.
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
Moved by Roll, second by Schreiber. Any further discussion? If not, this will be a roll call vote.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Council President.
as City Attorney, Ms. Jovic pointed out that there will be clarification of the projects and all the education materials, and I wanted to make sure that that is just on the record so that they can be very transparent and the public can see where we're headed, what we've done, and everything else.
10-4, and I will, we've got a great team. We've learned a lot at the water treatment election. We are going to put together a very educational piece of literature, do a bunch of outreach to some businesses to educate them. They may choose to educate or promote or not, but I'm excited. It is a tough time to throw this out there with the cost that we're all facing, but we don't have any other solution to fix our roads, and sidewalks. This will be a roll call vote
Counselor Duquette,
I'm sorry, I missed.
to approve the ballot language in the resolution.
Yes.
Counselor Tate,
Yes.
Counselor Sparrow,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Torres,
Yes.
Counselor Rule.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, council. I'm super excited and hope our community supports this in a supermajority. Moving on, we'll now move on to proposed resolution for the second amendment to the professional service agreement with Keller and Associates for the wastewater treatment plant replacement preliminary engineering report. And Holly and Kyle are here. Thanks for being here, Kyle. And Holly's going to give us an update. We've got some exciting news. I mean, good news.
Be Mayor Council, just a moment as I share my screen. Good. Good evening. Good evening. We do have Kyle with Keller and Associates here. He's our engineer with Keller Associates working on our wastewater treatment plant replacement project and PER. Tonight we have an update, a status update for where we are. There's also an action item to amend our existing contract with Keller to update our PER. So with that, just an overview of the project. Currently, the city is advancing a reconstruction plan for the wastewater treatment plant. This is to address our existing deficiencies, get us prepared for future permit requirements, and ensure a long-term regulatory regulation. We're currently focusing on our permit approach for this project. We're continuing to secure funding. The project is going to move into design quite quickly, so we'll talk about that. And we're also working through environmental permitting, which is a requirement when you accept federal funds for a project. So it's just an overview of what we'll be discussing tonight. A lot of this, we were back here in May previously, so a lot of this is going to be familiar to you all. This is largely a reminder of the efforts that we're working on. So our regulatory coordination with DEQ continues. We've been having conversations starting in May of this year with DEQ to discuss our challenges that we have with I&I. So for a reminder for council, when we do have heavy rain events and rain on snow events, we see flows at the wastewater treatment plant increase nearly 10 times. Our existing preliminary engineering report and our existing design provides for designing a 14 MGD plant to accommodate these swings. So typically a typical dry weather event, most of the year, we see about 1.8 MGD that's to our plant. And twice a year, maybe we see a higher rain on snow event that we see higher volumes. So the result of that, with that high volume, it's driving the size and the cost of the plant. We're seeing larger infrastructure needs to support it. So about a $130 million project. One thing that we've been coordinating with DEQ is trying to avoid sizing the plant for those rare and extreme events and looking for opportunities to ultimately reduce the overall cost of the project. Kyle, did you have anything to add on that regulatory approach?
I might just say, good evening, council. I might just say the discussions with DEQ regarding the permitting have gone unlike probably most discussions I've had with DEQ. They're very at the table wanting to make this work and recognize the challenges we have as a community for a project of this cost. With that being said, the intent there is still maintaining, a quality effluent that is required per state code, and working through there to make sure that we protect the area that we live and play in. So that being said, I am confident that we're going to continue to make progress in working through this with DEQ, and it's involved people from all levels of the Department of Environmental Quality on that regard, from funding all the way to permit to the bureau chief. So exciting on that effort. And there's also been discussions that the permit will be moved up ahead of other permits due to the, as we can all understand, due to the need of getting this addressed as soon as possible so that design can begin on that. And that's one of the challenges, is trying to rectify the permit requirements before we get too far along and going to go build this. So.
Yeah, and I would just echo that to council and everyone else. DEQ has been amazing. Director Jess Bryn has been at the table. He's been here. They've thrown their full support and true partnership towards this project. Even though they don't have the funding they'd like to have to help us, we are aggressively and creatively looking at ways to reduce the cost of this project and meet water quality standards. So hats off to them. Can't say enough.
Thank you. And just again to highlight, the regulatory coordination continues. It continues to go well. And I just want to highlight one more thing that Kyle mentioned with our permit. So we were, as EPA transitioned to DEQ, Sandpoint was number 60 on their list of permits to update. And through their coordination with them, we've risen to the top. And the importance of that permit update is so that we can accommodate this wet weather event and wet weather treatment in our project. So we're very fortunate, and the coordination continues to go well, though it does continue, which kind of brings us to our next point here. Keller prepared a preliminary engineering report that meets our existing discharge permit. It does not have any provisions for a wet weather consideration. It has been accepted, or DEQ has reviewed that plan. All of the elements of that plan are acceptable to DEQ. If we were to move forward with that wet weather treatment process, it would require Keller to revisit that preliminary engineering report and revise that process. So the amendment that is before council is to revise our preliminary engineering report and resubmit it to DEQ to include the wet weather treatment process. With the opportunity for cost savings, we would also look at membranes and bioreactors versus conventional activated sludge, which we currently have, and Kyle can provide more detail as to what those are. And we would also take the opportunity to add solids handling. Solids handling was not originally in the preliminary engineering report from a phasing perspective. We were prioritizing higher risk elements of the project. We would take this opportunity to add solids handling to the preliminary engineering report so that it was a holistic, full reconstruction project. So that is the intent of revisiting and updating our PER. And I've got an asterisk next to risk because there is risk there, and I want to be clear with council on what risk we would be taking. We currently have a preliminary engineering report that matches our existing EPA-approved discharge permit. The request before council is to update our PER to match a permit that is under current negotiations. There's risk there. We are coordinating really closely with DEQ. We've got funding with them. We meet with their permitting folks. We're all on the same track. Ultimately, until that permit is negotiated, any design or any work outside of alignment with that permit risks rework in the future. So I just want to be clear that we would be progressing an effort, closely coordinating with DEQ, but there's no guarantee that they will ultimately approve this deviation.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, I had a conversation with the director and told him about, we're going to move forward we'd like to move forward with some revised preliminary engineering. And I said, I haven't seen any red flags based on what we're talking about, based on this new interpretation and this wet weather treatment. And he agreed he hasn't seen any red flags. And it's the kind of thing you would hear when you've got all these engineers and permit writers around a table. They'd say, I don't know how you're going to do that, but everyone's sort of nodding their head saying, this could work. And again, it seems like it's working. The other thing I'd add is, Holly mentioned a $10 million savings, but I really want to emphasize when we did our original comparison of different technologies out there, we went with the conventional treatment, which is basically a footprint of where all of our clarifiers and aerators and pumps and digesters are today. And because we did that, there's a significant challenge to the engineering and construction of the plant doing that, because you're going to literally have to take each piece off at a time, rebuild it, and integrate it with a system that's running. Oversimplifying this, If we went to this membrane bioreactor, the footprint is much smaller. And to some degree, that technology replaces several of those other components. In a simplistic view, we could probably, and Kyle can speak to this, we can kind of build and construct this biomembrane without mucking with all the other pieces, which should reduce the complexity, the engineering, the risk, and the cost of the project. So I'm really excited that we can go with this bioreactive membrane. The water quality's higher quality. We can build a plant that's it's just better in almost every way. So we didn't go with that technology originally because we were looking at this massive 14 million gallon a day flow, but this discussion has given us some other options. So Kyle's being conservative from the engineer, saying $10 million savings, and his team. I'm just going to go on the record. I think it's going to be more than that. We'll have to bet an ice cream cone or something over at Kyle.
So I'll ask Kyle to describe the benefits of biomembrane reactors versus conventional activated sludge and what those are. But before I do, just to quickly highlight what this amendment is, we would be updating our PER to address solids handling, which is the solids part of our wastewater treatment plant. The auxiliary treatment is the piece, and the wet weather treatment is the piece that carries risk. So the conventional activated sludge or membrane and the solids handling, that's just additional design effort. It's only the wet weather treatment train that we don't have. We have the nod from DEQ and the nod from regulatory officials that it would work, but we don't have the signed off permit. So with that, Kyle, do you mind explaining the differences between conventional activated sludge, maybe highlight why we selected that originally and why we're revisiting membrane and the benefits of that technology?
Sure, absolutely. So conventional activated sludge is how you're currently treating wastewater, in which, like, the most simplistic form to compare conventional activated sludge and membrane is conventional activated sludge is like a glass of water with some wastewater in it, and you have some aeration in it. And the best way to get clean water out of that glass of water is to aerate it and then let the solids and bacteria settle. And then you tip the glass and it filters the clean water over the top due to just the mass balance in the water. So all of the solids kind of settle out and the cleaner water rises to the top and then goes to the rest of your process. Now in a membrane, it's the similar process where you do have aeration in a basin, but instead of tilting the water and letting the clean water float over, it actually goes through filters. And those are really, really microfine filters that basically remove additional loadings and constituents from the wastewater and provide a much higher effluent. One of the reasons conventional activated sludge was selected at the time when we looked at the whole project and that 14 MGD is that it's easier to operate on the scheme of there's not complex filters that require cleaning and so forth. With that, it has a lower energy cost because you're not mechanically operating these filters and removing them and running them and whatnot, wastewater. And generally, it was more affordable than membranes when we first looked at this. Now with membranes, one of the beautiful things with them is they're providing a much higher quality effluent. While a lot of places would love to go install them, they become a little bit cost prohibitive. And in a lot of instances, it's installing something that is above and beyond providing an effluent that's even in some instances better than the water source that it goes into. And so that being said, one of the reasons we want to take a look at this is it would potentially provide a higher effluent, and we would potentially be able to result in a smaller plant footprint for the future with this revised permitting. So it's worthwhile to take a look back at these two now that the potential design criteria might change for the loading to the river. How'd I do? Did I sort of make sense there?
Mm-hmm.
I bet. Okay, good. Is that what you were thinking?
So, anything else, or you open for council questions, or?
A couple more slides. Just a reminder for our funding, we did pass a $130 million revenue bond. In May, council accepted $38 million state revolving fund loan to support our first phase of the project. And there was also a $2.5 million grant accepted with that. We're anticipating additional funds in the future from the state to total $6 million from state funding. We do have other steps and other opportunities for funding to look to USD ARD. There's potential for private bonds, other grants, WIFIA, block grants. So just understand that that's a summary of our current funding, and the search for additional funds continues. An update on our environmental review. I'll let Kyle give an update here.
Yeah, this was a big step. Previously, the environmental information document often gets completed right after the facility plan. And when we were working on the preliminary engineering report, it was noted that environmental had not been completed for the project. And in order to use state revolving funds, an environmental needed to be completed. So we worked on that with the city and were able to get that submitted to DEQ, and they provided a categorical exclusion, which basically just denotes that they had no finding of impact to the system and the environment associated with the plant and those planned improvements. And we are now eligible to use the SRF funding. So that was a big check mark to knock off and continue making progress and on the development of the project. So.
Our next steps, so a reminder of our project delivery schedule strategy as well. Time is of the essence. So we've identified that our wastewater treatment plant is in dire need of updates. And one tool that we have in the tool belt is to go with an alternative project delivery method. We discussed this in more detail at the last council meeting, but just high level summary. CMGC is a delivery method that helps coordinate design engineers and brings the contractor on early on in the project so that we can resolve constructability concerns. It's also beneficial to bring the contractor early on so we can do value engineering and control costs. There's also a lot of risk mitigation that can take place at this time. So in the September council meeting, we currently have an active solicitation out for an owner's representative. This role would support the city in being our technical advisor. They would be supporting the city in project management, constructing management. A project of this size and this scale and the complexity, the city does need a contracted resource to support our efforts in this. So in September, council will be asked to review a contract with our owner's representative. Once we engage this owner representative, they will help us support in building our CMGC team and getting the project out into design and construction. With that, are there any questions?
Thank you, Holly. Council, some questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilman Trevor.
Let's see here. I've got quite a few. So you said that the permit has been bumped up in the queue for DEQ. How soon are we talking?
We don't have a timeline of when we would expect to see the actual revision, but we did get an answer back from DEQ that they'll be working on it. So they did not give any expectation that we'll have a IPDES permit by X date, but we have an opportunity right now to actively work on them with that. So
it's a tough situation for DEQ. Not only do they often have permits that are administratively extended because they're not able to get to them on a timely fashion, it's something that they can't commit to a certain date. So it puts us in a challenging spot. But I think one of the opportunities we look at is it's either do this and try to save money and develop a project that's more affordable to the public, or do what we've already done and proceed with that project. And I think the opportunity there to reduce costs and to provide a better product down the road is definitely there. And I think where we could look at a great stopping point is finishing up the PER. That still has to go, after that's revised, still go to DEQ. And at that point, if they feel like the permitting isn't going to progress, or we don't feel comfortable with those revisions, we probably wouldn't proceed any further until that gets resolved on that regard. So I think the short answer is DEQ probably wouldn't be able to tell us because they're not sure, and we can't tell us, or we can't say for sure. So
Okay, yeah, the obvious question that I'm getting at is if they bumped us up in their queue, why don't we just wait and see what their requirements are going to be before we start designing a plant when we don't know what the requirements are going to be?
Yeah, and I think that's a good question, Councilman Schreiber, and I've been in all these meetings. And, again, it's, when we first, 6 months ago, had our meeting with them, they're like, good luck, we got 60 permits out there that, are ahead of you. These are plants that have issues and are having violations. And within 2 months, they came back once they heard more about what we'd like to do with this wet weather treatment, and they said, we'll move you all the way up. So, to answer your specific question, it looks like the train's rolling down the track. And again, talking to the director, I said, hey, this could arguably be a couple $100,000 to do this revised engineering. And I said, that's a big number. And I said, have you seen any red flags, anything? He said, no, my staff's supportive. No one's mentioned anything. And it's looking really good.
And I might just add, to clarify, we're not necessarily guessing on the permit limits. We are coordinating and we understand what we are planning for, and it's more a provision of striking one of the two requirements as far as how the loadings are interpreted. So I think it's very clear in DEQ's eyes and the consultant's eyes what we are designing around. It's more just getting that executed on paper, like yourself and everyone would like in this room to get, done as soon as possible. And I think it is a tough situation because, we would like to, wrap that up as soon as possible, but we do have our hands tied behind our back, and working with DEQ and their timeline.
Sure, it's always on their timeline.
And maybe to that comment, maybe we can push a little harder, Mayor and Holly, to get a more formal response from them as requested by the council to support this movement. That might help share a little different perspective that that would make everyone else feel more comfortable with their buy-in to that.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, I just add one important piece. So we're highlighting the risk here, and to fully understand the purpose of a preliminary engineering report is to provide a check-in with DEQ early on so that we don't go down the wrong way in design. So the purpose, it's very intentional that preliminary engineering report, we check in with our regulatory authority and then they approve us before we start design. So while there is risk, the risk is really limited to the funds that we're looking to expend tonight. The other piece, and for council to understand, is that so far our funding for this project is supported by DEQ. So any funds that they would be willing to expend would also go through that additional layer of review process. So this risk would not be carried through design, just the preliminary engineering effort.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, could you give me a little bit more information about when and how we decided to pivot? So we approved Keller's original contract this time last year, and then sometime over Christmas or the first of the year, there was a pilot study done.
Separate, but we did a pilot study. We've done several of them. We've done
Who
one
did that pilot study?
preliminary filtration. We did one on the auger, the screw press for the solids drying. So, but those aren't this actually came up when we did our preliminary filtration pilot. Some folks came in and we were looking at different filtrations. That's you get your screen right now. It takes out your grit and your toilet paper and stuff. So the plant is designed, current rendition, to have this spinning wheels filtration. And the contractor's like, why aren't you guys doing, should I say the word, auxiliary bypass? And
Auxiliary treatment.
yes. And we're like, what? And he's like, yeah, they do it in California. They do it somewhere else. And it's like, what is this? And they've never done it in Idaho. So we started immediately looking into that. What is this? How does it work? What are the benefits? And it's basically on these high flow wet weather days, you do preliminary filtration and disinfection, and the volume is so diluted that you then you bring those effluents together, what's going through the plant with your wet weather treatment, and you end up with a product that still meets permit loads and other limits. So at that point, we said, this could be huge if we can get DEQ to look at this seriously and understand that this doesn't affect our permit or water quality. And that's when we really get going. Got some data, collected data here this winter about the flows and those dates and what the loadings were. And that progressed into these meetings like, hey, DEQ, what do you think about this? And right from the start, it's like, this could fit, this could fit, this could work. It could be applied across the state, could save many plants money. It's effectively a somewhat new application and interpretation of the rules at the state level. And it's pretty exciting. And I think DEQ is excited about it as well. But that's when we pivoted and said, okay, if this is an acceptable process through DEQ, that means we can go back and look at our preliminary engineering report. And during that initial selection, we had 3 different types of treatment. And we didn't go the membrane filtration because at that size, 14 million gallons a day, it was very expensive. But now we're talking a much smaller size, which has a smaller footprint. And then, of course, all the ancillary benefits if you're not digging up all these other pieces on the left side of the plant here and trying to run them and do them at the same time. So that's sort of the evolution of this, Kyle.
So the original PER was already complete when you realized that you had the opportunity to do the.
Yeah, this guy who came in and did the filtration pilot, the preliminary filtration, he was like a contractor who's like, why aren't you doing that? I've seen that in California, and there aren't a lot of places doing it. It's kind of exciting.
What I'm getting at here is that we've already spent $500,000 on a PER, and now we're saying we want to spend another $250,000 for a second one, but we're not sure if DEQ is even going to allow it. We don't even know what they're going to require, so it can very possibly be even more than $250,000 for the second one. And I'm struggling with the fact that had we paused back then, maybe the first PER would have covered it, and now we're saying we're not going to pause now to wait to find out what our permit requirements are going to be and incur this risk that we might have to adjust our PER a third time for an unknown cost.
You've expressly clarified and you understand exactly what we're talking about. So that is absolutely correct. I guess I'd add a couple of things. So yes, we're looking at a little more money here to redesign or revisit the alternatives and the design for that PER. That's what's before you tonight, to look at this membrane treatment. And I guess the trade-off and the benefit is, one, even if this fell in a pile, we can still go back to the PER that's approved, traditional activated sludge. So no more design costs there. What this potentially offers us, though, is a significant cost saving, downsizing of the plant, and smaller footprint, and far less complexity when you go to build this thing. because you're not touching all these other pieces on the screen here, or as many of them. And then finally, I guess I'd just say, you know, everything costs more. I mean, we're in an inflationary environment, and the price of a project can inflate just by time. So we're chasing two things. One, the inflationary cost, and then two, this great opportunity to, we've got a great director at DEQ right now. Jess is 100% supportive of this, and kind of strike while the iron's hot. And I sleep well on it because, again, in many conversations, many meetings with them and their team and their permit people, everyone's kind of nodding their head saying, wow, that's interesting. That would work. There's no red flags as of yet. And I just checked in with the director a week and a half ago, personally, and face to face. And I expressed exactly this issue. It's like, we don't have our permit yet. You haven't blessed this 100%. We want to move forward and start designing towards it, or at least preliminarily design. So yeah, you got it. Go ahead, Holly.
Mr. Mayor, may I clarify one piece there, or maybe two? The proposed amendment is looking at three things to Keller's contract. One is to add solids handling. Let me actually go back to that slide so we can visually see. One is to add solids handling. The other, the risk component is the auxiliary treatment. So that's our opportunity for, it is rework, and that's our risk is just in that item. There would not be a third effort. So to go back in time in November, Keller wrapped up their preliminary engineering report, and that effort was really targeted towards our bond. So we knew what we would have to bond and go into debt for, and that's where that $130 million comes from. After we passed our bonds, our effort were directed towards applying for the SRF funding. So following our submittal to the state, our LOI for funding for the wastewater treatment plant project, we submitted the PER to DEQ. They got comments back to us in February, and they were really minor. And that's when our conversation with DEQ kicked off. Keller very rightfully and smartly did not start design on or efforts on a project outside of their scope of work or outside of our existing discharge permit. But I just wanted to clarify that the risk is really just, and the rework is just related to the wet weather. It's not that full 250,000, and we wouldn't have to amend it a third time. We've got a PER on the shelf. This, you could look at this as an effort to a couple $100,000 effort to find tens of millions of dollars in savings in the overall funding of the project.
Got two separate items I want to reply to on that. So we're talking about $130 million conventional plant or $120 million membrane bioreactor plant.
No, those are very conservative numbers. The $10 million of cost savings is just very preliminary. The PER and part of this update would be to further evaluate what those cost savings be. So we're not confidently saying it'd be 120 million. We're confidently saying it'd be no more, that there'd be at least $10 million savings, but we're hopeful to find more in value engineering there.
Gotcha. But we hope to find value engineering in the conventional plants as well, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Are membrane bioreactors typically more expensive to operate?
They absolutely are. So under this PER, the evaluation of conventional activated sludge versus MBRs would be explored. So in our original PER, we explored it at a very high level, and MBRs were not moved forward because they were cost prohibited right off the bat. This would be our opportunity to revisit them. And Keller's scope of work, it's one of their first tasks is actually to evaluate the conventional activated sludge versus MBR, small early preliminary effort, and then continue on the efforts to update the rest of the PER, including the auxiliary treatment.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, in the initial scope and assessment of the technologies available, the MBR, because it was having to be scaled at 14 million gallons a day, it was far more expensive. So again, they're throwing 10 million. I'm not an engineer. Just the complexity of replacing and running a plant and designing and building at the same time. We haven't really gone into this, but just intuitively, it is going to be far simpler than replacing the existing activated sludge components that are there.
But in the long term, we might end up paying more because we have to now run a really high-tech plant that requires specialized filters that have very few sources.
So there was the operational and maintenance and annual costs were considered in that preliminary technology. It didn't jump out to me, and Kyle can fill me in. It wasn't a shocker, like, oh my gosh, that's so much more expensive to operate. It was more, but it didn't, my recollection, it wasn't like 3 times or 2 times as much to operate. It's like less, far less, but maybe Kyle has some rough numbers, but it's a standard technology. I mean, it's like our water plant filtration, the Paul filtration, there are filters in there. You got to backwash them. They do wear out. You got to replace them, but there's operational costs for sure.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman Rule.
I would like to make a motion to pass the professional services agreement.
It's a motion by
Second.
Councilman Rule, motion by Rule, second by Spiro. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman.
it sounds to me like this contract ended when the requirements of the contract were fulfilled back in November. And so I don't know why we're going about this through a change order rather than a full bid for $250,000 worth of work that clearly passes the statutory limit that we should be bidding this project rather than continuing to address it through change orders.
Yeah, I can either let Holly, Cheryl, or legal talk to professional services agreements and some of those standards, but off the cuff, I don't know why you'd want to bring a whole new person in when we've got a team fully up to speed and aware and engaged.
It's our duty to the taxpayers.
Mr. Mayor, if I might.
Go ahead, Council President.
We didn't seem to have any problem reneging on our commitment after almost 2 years of researching, throwing $80,000 down the toilet in parking kiosks. So I find this a little odd. I hate to bring that back up, but we stand to lose $80,000 in parking kiosks we can't reuse. Maybe we can e-abate them, maybe we can't. And all the additional employee work time that was spent putting them in, taking them out. So if you want to calculate that number up for me and you want to switch directions with somebody who already knows what we're doing, that is going to cost us more money in the long run, going for new contracts, delay. So I don't think you're seeing the bigger picture here, Councilman Schreiber.
And also for clarity, the Keller's effort in their contract and their scope of work was not completed. The PER was one item, but they had many tasks that continued including coordination with DEQ and supporting us. And so their contract had not expired and their efforts did not end. We work really closely with our contracts procurement director, Cheryl Hughes, and she can probably support why this is an amendment and not a full solicitation and validate that we are following the state procurement process and law.
Yes, when it comes to engineering services, the state law allows for phases. Keller has clearly put a lot of effort in. It is very common to use a consultant and an engineer that has done all of that work already, and you go into a different phase. And then you amend the original agreement by going into a different phase, which is completely allowed under Idaho law, as well as our city policy that follows the Idaho procurement laws as well. And it's due to the specialized nature. You would not want to all of a sudden go out for solicitation and go with an entirely different engineering firm that hasn't been part of the initial process and all the work that went into it. That would be extremely inefficient.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Mr. Mayor, call the vote.
All right, let's call for the vote. Madam Clerk?
Counselor Torres,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Spiro,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Tate.
Yes.
Great. Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Excellent. Thank you so much, Kyle. Thanks, Holly. And excited council report back as we proceed on this. Final element here. Yes, final element, which is under new business, the proposed resolution to approve the Bonner County 2026 Emergency Management Multi-Jurisdictional All Hazard Mitigation Plan. I did want to mention a couple things. This is a broad effort across the county, and we don't have the nimbleness to have them switch and change and amend things. The plan that's been submitted does include 2 erroneous corrections that if you approve it, which I hope you will, I would want you to approve it contingent on them updating the city engineer. They have Brandon Staglin in there. And also they don't recognize that the Sandpoint Fire Department is now independent and not part of the JPA. So other than that, this is a plan that coordinates our efforts across the county and EMS and hazard response, and appreciate the county's effort to lead on this. Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, question, just, when do we see the eligible mitigation projects that are mentioned? Supposedly the reason we would sign this,
Sure.
to be able to have those.
I have not been in touch with Bonner County's emergency management regarding this. They sent this over and asked us to review it and approve it. It struck me as it was a pretty standardized requirement. I obviously have typical questions about authority and what we're giving up, but is there a specific section that you have a question on I might be able to? Is it on the resolution or in the plan?
Well, I don't see a plan. Really.
Okay.
We didn't see the emergency management hazard mitigation plan. It says it's been approved. That's fine. There was just it said, the reason we would want to do this is because we would be eligible to apply for FEMA hazard mitigation assistance funding for eligible mitigation projects identified in that. I just wondered.
So if you had a disaster where FEMA would be supporting any relief efforts, you have a better chance of receiving funding and or support from FEMA if you have a multi-jurisdictional plan that you've adopted.
Okay.
So there isn't a specific plan in place. God forbid you have something that would require
Wildfires, blizzards, earthquakes, volcanoes.
Okay.
Riots.
Floods.
Floods.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Council President.
I guess I would like to ask legal, did you see any issues within this other than what the mayor pointed out? Is this something that's relatively standard with other municipalities you work with?
It's relatively standard. It's a standard across other municipalities to have a regional approach to disaster and or need for relief or hazard mitigation. I had asked Chief Kuhn if he had a chance to look at it ahead of time. He's much more versed, and he had perused it and didn't see any red flags either.
Okay, other than the JPA piece and changing the engineer?
And the technical pieces.
Other than, yes.
Scribner's. It's who's.
Scrivener's.
Mr. Mayor, would you like to make a motion?
Vote.
Would I like to?
Motion.
I can't make a motion.
I make a motion to approve action item number 14 for the Bonner County 2026 Emergency Management All Hazard Mitigation Plan with the Scrivener's errors corrected.
Second.
The motion is second, and just a slight correction, item 13, the all hazard mitigation plan, 14. Any discussion? I'll take a roll call vote.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Tate,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Sparrow,
Yes.
Counselor Torres.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. With no further business before the council, this meeting is now adjourned at 8:06. Thank you, council members. Thank you, public. Thank you, staff.
8 o'clock.